Welcome to There Will Be Podcast. My name is Pilar.
My name is Brian.
And today we'll be discussing the classic 1998 martial art action-packed comedy starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, Rush Hour.
Rush Hour, yes. So Rush Hour, it follows these two detectives who couldn't be any more different from one another. But they're learning to get along and work together to find the kidnapped daughter of a Chinese, like, Hong Kong diplomat.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the plot.
Okay, yeah. So we do want to put a disclaimer that there are some problematic people who worked in this film. And so with that being said, we highly encourage you to do your own research on the actors and director of this film. But know that it's okay to look back on pieces of work that have already happened because, I mean, they're part of history and there's no reason to hide it or sugarcoat it or dismiss it because, I mean, it's already out there. You're allowed to enjoy it, but as long as you understand that you are no longer supporting the people that have made the mistakes that they have, then you're good. Like, they're not getting money from us watching this movie because we bought this secondhand. Like, and we're definitely not promoting these actors or director. So
yeah,
go forth, enjoy what you used to enjoy. It's fine as long as you're not hurting anybody or hurting yourself.
Go forth.
So getting into the film,
Yeah,
it's been a long time since both of us have seen it, right? Or have you ever seen it?
I think I might have, like, watched it in full, like, when it came out, like, a long time ago.
1998.
Yeah, but I've only seen, like, bits and pieces through the years.
Yeah.
So this was the first time sitting down to watch it, like
with your, like, conscious mind.
with attention.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing for me. I think my parents, specifically my dad, would watch it, or like my grandpa would watch it in the background. I would just be like in the living room playing with my toys, so I never really paid attention to it. I do remember it being like a classic, like, comedy film.
Yeah.
And that people, like, loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely classic.
So how did you like it now that you sat down and like actually watched it?
Yeah, so, like, on the surface I was thinking, okay, this movie's from 1998.
Mm-hmm.
It stars a black guy and a Chinese guy,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, it's a comedy, so it is definitely going to be problematic.
Yes.
That's what I went in thinking. However, I didn't think it was as problematic as it could have been.
Yes, that is definitely something that I thought. Like, definitely problematic energy emitting from specific scenes, really.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as I thought it could have been. Like, that I was just not remembering.
I thought overall, it was in pretty good taste.
I feel like it was in the realm of microaggressions more than, like, macroaggressions. You know, like, hard stuff.
Yeah. That being said, I really enjoyed it. Watching it through.
I think it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't like laugh out loud comedy, bust a gut kind of comedy.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool. Yeah. Especially I loved Jackie Chan. Like, I wasn't like wowed by Jackie Chan's, like, stunt scenes, like his action scenes, but I thought they were, like, really cool and really well choreographed. And watching, like, the little like deleted bloopers or whatever, like, he had, like, a lot of fun doing it, and I think that's, like, the best part about, like, watching behind the scenes is, like, people actually enjoying doing the films that they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, so with the comedy,
right,
it's not, like, laugh out loud funny anymore. I think back in the day it might have been.
Okay.
But I do think it was fairly dated in the comedy.
Yes.
And then just some kind of aspects of the movie.
Okay.
So that's kind of the first aspect I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
It's almost cliches at this point, but I think it's cliches not at the time.
Right.
I think just since then, a lot of things that are in this movie have become cliches.
It, like, was the snowball that started it all.
Yeah. So the first scene that I wanted to bring up was the opening credits, the very first scene of the movie.
Yes.
Because it is like the classic made-for-TV opening credit scene.
Okay, yeah.
Like we have like things happening that aren't necessarily related to what's going on with like who's starring in the movie, like coming up over the screen, and you see like little details, and then somebody else's name pops up.
Yeah.
And like that's like.
It's like almost like Law and Order, like dun 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 dun.
Yeah,
dun.
like it's made to go on TV for like
forever. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. So that was the first thing. Also, in that same opening sequence, we see Sang, like the kind of he's kind of like the main villain.
Yeah, he's like the minion almost.
Yeah. He's not the big bad guy, but he is the bad guy that we see throughout the movie.
Right, he's the face of the bad guy.
Yeah, but we see him, and like, to me, he's just like, oh, there's the bad guy.
Right.
He's like smoking a cigarette, and he has like this like short, like bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
And like
he looks
just
like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, you just know. Yeah, you just know that's the bad guy.
Right.
Immediately.
If it's like a POC with black or with bleach blonde hair, you know that's a villain.
But then for more stuff on how it's dated, like we have just numerous Michael Jackson references.
Yeah.
Which can be seen as problematic, but in 1998,
right. I mean, everyone was in love with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and Chris Tucker himself has a long history of being a fan of Michael Jackson. It was actually, I don't want to get too into it, but he was actually involved in Michael Jackson's hearing. He was a defense witness. So yeah, I don't want to get into that right now. But yeah, I mean, just early on in the film. So Chris Tucker dances like Michael Jackson when he blows up the car or whatever.
Right.
He has this little scene with like a star map.
Yeah.
Seller guy, and he asked about Michael Jackson's house.
Oh yeah.
And then when he finally starts to talk to Jackie Chan, he's like, "No, this isn't a democracy. You're in the United States of Chris Tucker."
Yeah.
And he says, "I'm Michael Jackson, and you're Tito." So I mean,
who's Tito?
I don't even know who Tito is.
Okay.
I thought you knew.
I don't know who Tito is.
I don't know.
So in talking about things that did not age well, I definitely felt like the comedy was something that I was scared about judging, because it's like things that we found funny in the 1990s is probably not funny now.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good comedic times. I felt like there was that scene. Oh my gosh, the scene with Soo Young, the daughter, where she's like singing in the car with the two bodyguards. Yeah. She's like, "I'm so into you." Dude, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen, and I definitely feel like it's like kind of funny, kind of like scary when she's like singing and you're like enjoying yourself, and then she like literally gets kidnapped right afterwards. Like that was so like such a good cut, because you're just like in your moment and it's like, oh no, she's getting kidnapped. And I kind of just want to say kudos to the girl who played Soo Young, because she is fantastic. There was the other scene where she is, where Detective Carter is about to get fired, and he goes into his boss's office, and his boss is on the phone with the FBI. He's like, "No, I'm not going to send one of my guys.
It'd be a complete waste of my resources."
Right, and then Detective Carter comes up. He's like, "Oh, hold on, I'm sending someone over." And then they're like talking or whatever, and he's like, "The FBI wants you." And Carter's like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm doing the do." And then at some point he's like, "When I go up to the top, I'm gonna make you mayor." And he's like, "I'd rather you didn't." I mean, I think that dialogue was really, really good. Another scene that I really liked as far as like comedy goes is Jackie Chan has Detective Carter's wheel on his
Yeah,
arm.
the steering wheel.
The steering wheel, and then he like tries to jump this brick fence wall thing. And then he gets up, and then there's a camera like looking at him directly in the face, and he like turns it around as if like that's gonna help anything. Another scene, it was really at the beginning, where Inspector Lee is in the taxi where he's like running away from Detective Carter, and he gets in a taxi, and then Carter finds the taxi and stops it. He pulls a gun out at him, and then Jackie Chan like gets his gun, and then the taxi driver's like, "What's going on here?" He gets out his gun, and then it's all three of them have guns for some reason, and then I can't remember what happened. Oh, okay, that's where we get into the bad.
Oh, okay.
The scene literally, the line literally went right after that scene is where Jackie Chan speaks for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have the gong. And it's like,
really? I didn't notice that.
Really? Yeah. First of all, I felt like it was not a funny enough line for Jackie Chan. I think he says something like, "Oh, I'm just a police officer, and I'm showing him how to take the gun away from a suspect or something."
Yeah.
And then it goes like gong, you know, it's just like, oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. It did have like, it had that throughout. I thought that kind of throughout the movie it had this, not really a score, but like stereotypically Asian music.
Yes.
Like playing kind of between scenes, like transition wise.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I mean, I feel like at the time, like 1990, it probably didn't feel as like stereotypical. I mean, of course it was, because why else would they be playing it? But it felt like maybe to a general audience it wouldn't be found as like offensive.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was like very like, what's the word I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like too played out for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like very heavy. Like, every time they like had an Asian person on screen, they had like crazy accents and like crazy stereotypical Asian music or whatever. Another thing that I felt like was played up to be comedic was pretty much just like Chris Tucker yelling things.
Mm-hmm.
And I never find yelling to be funny, and especially when you're like yelling at a foreigner, like, "Do you speak English?" It's like, is that funny? Like,
yeah.
Is it funny to people who aren't foreign? You know, it's definitely not funny to people who are foreign and learning a new language.
I have an issue with that, like in movies in general. Like, if somebody's deaf or they don't speak the language,
right,
then the other character always like starts to yell at them as if that will make them hear better or something, or understand. Like
in what was that movie? Little Hours, where she was like yelling at him. Even though like he's clearly deaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never find like yelling funny. And sadly Chris Tucker did a lot of yelling.
I mean, that's kind of a stick.
Yeah. So a part of The Ugly was definitely the bar scene where they had Jackie Chan say the N-word twice.
Yes.
I don't know whose idea that was. I'm sure Chris Tucker was like, "Sure, you can do that." And then they were like, "Okay, let's do it." But I did not like how, one, they made him say that. Two, after that, he like literally fought a whole bar of black people because like, I mean, I understand that, like, as the character, he was, like, defending himself, but it's like, you can't say the N-word and then fight every black person you see. Like, that's messed up. And then they just walk out of the bar like it's nothing. I felt like there was no real lesson learned, and I feel like it wasn't that funny.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it wasn't that funny today.
Okay.
But I could see how it would be like, whoa, like
yeah, like shock comedy almost.
Yeah, like shocking back in the day.
Yeah. But I still felt like it was a little out of place for this movie. Like,
yeah. So I thought, race was like definitely like my biggest concern going into the movie, and there is that scene, which is definitely the most problematic scene I think in the whole movie, the bar scene. But I thought that blackness really wasn't even like a subject almost.
Okay.
And in the movie, I thought overall it was much more focused on like Chinese culture.
Right.
And I thought it actually, we mentioned like the gong, which I didn't notice.
Right.
And then like the Asian-y music transitions, but I thought overall it was actually quite respectful of Chinese culture.
Okay. So I do have that the film was quite xenophobic with the character of Detective Carter and the character of Detective Johnson. No. Who's the FBI guy. Like he's like, we don't need no Chinese man.
Yeah, yeah.
coming into whatever. Like I felt like that was very xenophobic in itself.
But they're made out to be the ignorant ones.
True, yes.
And I mean, Jackie Chan is the hero, or Detective Lee. The underlying plot of the film is about protecting pieces of Chinese culture,
right?
And like their historical and artistic importance.
Yeah, there was that one line where they are at the museum unveiling the artifacts that were stolen, and Detective Carter was like, "Oh, I like that Buddha. I would like that in my bathroom."
Yeah.
And Jackie Chan's like, "Hey, like this is ancient Chinese artifacts. Like this is the history of my people. Like you can't just have that in the bathroom." Yeah. I thought that was really important.
I thought it was almost like, "Oh, look at all this stuff," and then Jackie Chan delivers the line. It's like, well, I mean, that's not even cool. Like you need to respect this stuff,
right?
I don't know.
I do.
That's how I'm reading it in today's world, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it kind of like teeter-tottered between being xenophobic and being like respectful towards Chinese culture. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I felt like the music wasn't overtly played out, but I did feel like there was definitely with Chris Tucker's character like a lot of xenophobia, and they were also like. I felt like there was a weird place of, or like weird display of the modeled minority almost. So like usually Asian people are seen as like the better minority versus like Black and Latino people. And so I felt like in having Chris Tucker play the character that he is, it's almost like amplifying that in this film because he was seen as the annoying one, the one that is like, messing things up or whatever.
Yeah, he's like an outcast in the LAPD.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I definitely felt like you really do, like for a general audience, you do have to dig into like the race ism of this film. But I do feel like there was, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. That's the main thing that I really took away from this film. I felt like it could have been worse. So my last thing for the ugly was the amount of sexism there was towards Detective Johnson. Yeah. That was Detective Carter's like partner. She was the bomb expert.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry. It's like one of the things that bothered me about the movie. Like I don't know what their like professional relationship is.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal for like a detective, for like a pair of detectives, for one of them to be a bomb expert. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, oh, you have the bomb squad, which is separate from like a detective. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand like their partnership.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It was really weird. And then he was like,
it was like they didn't want an extra character or anything. They just combined two characters.
Yeah. There was just a lot of like him or Detective Carter being like, hey, you want to sleep with me so bad. Hey, I spread rumors about you, like about sleeping together or whatever. It's just like, dude, like she's literally just a woman trying to do her job.
Yeah.
It was a little quite annoying. But I do want to end on a last good comedy moment that I felt, and that was when Jackie Chan was at the very end, when they were fighting in the museum, when Jackie Chan was trying to protect all the Asian artifacts that they had rescued, and then he was fighting, and there was one specific scene where he was like, had this giant vase, it was huge, and he's like fighting these people, but also trying to keep it from falling on the ground and shattering, and he like kept it up for like a good minute or 2 minutes or whatever. At the very end, when he had defeated everyone, he had the vase up and like proper, somebody shot it and it just exploded.
Yeah, that's a really funny scene. I wrote down that it's like the opposite of like slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like usually in slapstick comedy, like somebody gets hurt and like, you know, it's just dorky, I guess. But this is like, oh, I'm trying to protect this thing while I'm fighting these people, and then the punchline is just it exploding anyway.
Yeah.
So that scene is like, I thought one of the like funnier action sequences. I thought there were some really good action sequences. You mentioned the scene in which Su Young is singing in the back seat. I thought the whole like kidnapping scene was like really well choreographed.
Right.
It seemed like frighteningly realistic too.
Yeah.
How like, one guy tries to kidnap her, but there's like a whole like backup plan in case that goes wrong. This guy comes out from nowhere on a motorcycle, drives like straight to this van.
They had the police guy who was like, "You go this way."
Yeah.
It was really well planned.
Yeah, and seemed, like I said, realistic, which is scary. Also, with Sang, the axe fighting scene, when they go up into this like
abandoned building,
dilapidated building, and Sang finds an axe, which I assume was like there's like the little fire escape.
Oh yeah. I think that's what it was.
I think that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I wasn't like taken out by like the sound effects or anything. It like looked like he was swinging this axe like hardcore. Like that was good. Chris Tucker does like commandeer that motorcycle like in Grand Theft Auto or something.
Yeah. he's like FBI, I need this. It's like, can FBI really do that?
I think so. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that normal, but I think so. But I wanted to also give Chris Tucker some credit for stunts because he did some stunts,
right?
Like he ran and like jumped on the back of that bus at the beginning when Jackie Chan's on the tourist bus.
Yeah.
And
he did what he could.
Yeah, he's still Jackie Chan, but he definitely did what he could to try to keep up.
Right. And I don't know to what extent, like Jackie Chan is known for doing a lot of his own stunts. I don't know to what extent that is for this film. Like, obviously, I feel like he did all the fighting scenes, but the part where he was like dangling up in the sky and he fell down this giant tapestry thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's Jackie Chan. I don't think he's like going to put himself in a authentic life-threatening situation.
No, like there's like legit a scene where in another movie where he like falls through a glass ceiling and he's like falling and then holding onto like a string of lights. Like he'll do some stuff, and he like there's several ones where he's like falling off of buildings. So maybe, but I don't know. But
I'm not sure.
I did read that he almost died in this film. At some point, there was like two like metal blocks that were like coming together. I don't remember the scene.
Are you talking about the storage containers?
Maybe, yeah. And his head like barely made it out of that. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Major props to Jackie Chan for what he does. I really liked a lot of lines that were in the movie. So in that scene, or the axe fighting scene, they fall through like the scaffolding into like this alley, and Chris Tucker says, "I think I broke my shit."
Yeah,
like that's good. He also said like come on, we're in the LAPD. Everybody hates us. My mom tells people I'm a drug dealer.
Yeah, I did have that written down. I thought that was really funny. I do like when the little when Jusung she is rescued, but she has like the bomb.
Soo Young.
Sorry, Soo Young. She's covered in the explosives, right? And Chris Tucker's like, "Hey, I got the girl." Like, yeah, but you know, you can just go ahead and push that button if you want to explode all of us. He's like, "Push the button." She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well,
he's like, play along."
Yeah, play along. And she's like, "Yeah, push the button." She's like, "Push the goddamn button." I love her so much. She stole the show for me. I think she deserves an Oscar for that. It's too late now, but she deserves it.
Any other big aspects?
Yeah. So, like, I don't quite understand action movies sometimes. Like, so definitely, you know, in the beginning where Chris Tucker is doing an exchange with the bomb guy, Clive.
Yeah.
He obviously two other policemen get like in the middle of it, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I'm LAPD, get the fuck out of here." Yeah. And then Clive realizes what's happening. He drives away, and then Chris Tucker like shoots his car, and then it explodes. And he's like, "I saved the day." It's like, no, you didn't. Yeah. I did also read that the C4 bomb that they were talking about is not really supposed to explode like that, especially. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I'm not like a bomb expert,
right?
But I don't know. Like, also in movies, like you shoot a car like in the gas tank and the car explodes.
Right.
Like, I know gasoline is flammable, but I don't think that's what happens if a bullet hits it.
Yeah.
Know? Like,
I don't know. I think they just expect people to be like extremely ignorant about explosives, and they're just like, people love shit blowing up. Like,
I don't know. Let's go shoot some gas tanks and see what happens.
Like the boss said himself, he's like, we just needed to let America know that the FBI could just blow shit up. I thought that was like weird. Same thing with like the money, like, you know, they're asking for ransom money. It's like, do the FBI use actual money for that? You know, I don't understand. It's like they ask for a certain amount in like bills. Yeah. And it's like, it's going to take them a while to count that, even with the little money counter things.
Yeah, to even get that much money.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't understand.
So people might not know this, but like the bank doesn't have like an unlimited amount of money.
Right.
Like, I've gone to the bank first thing in the morning to get some cash out, and like they did not have like $200 to give me. You know? Like, they didn't.
Right.
And I mean, like, you know, the FBI has resources or whatever, but you know, to get like whatever it was, $5 million or $10 million, like
in 1999 or 1998.
Is it $50 million?
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, $50 million in 1998, like in a couple hours.
They were like hitting up every bank in New York.
So, plot wise, I thought that it was another aspect that seemed a little dated but it's strange. Okay, so we get an introduction to the characters. Then there's this kidnapping scene. And then like the plot of the movie starts to unfold as these two detectives come together. They're like shunned by the actual investigation, but they try to investigate on their own.
Right.
So like the movie is almost about them just interacting.
Right.
And getting to know each other. Because the plot of the kidnapping and like getting the girl back.
It's like in the background.
It kind of meanders. Like they find out that Jun Tao is going to be at this Chinese restaurant, and then they just go to the restaurant and just like hang out, stake it out.
Yeah,
but they're like, that's fine, but in a movie, like nothing is happening.
Right.
Like Detective Lee says, So what now? We just wait? It's like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
And Jackie Chan's like, nah, that's not how I roll.
And I, like, there's certain aspects of it that are very realistic to, like, actual detective work. So there's, like, certain details in the movie, like the counting of the bills and stuff. Like, I'm sure that happens if there's, like, a ransom situation. But I don't need to see that in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's, like, weird things that are paid attention to.
Yeah.
But then, like, not everything that happens is pertinent to the plot of the movie.
Right. I do feel like in the editing and the overall, like, pace of the movie was, like, kind of its own detriment. Like, I felt like the editing was, like, really weird, and there was scenes that weren't necessary, and then things that you wish were a little bit more invested in.
Yeah.
Definitely, like you said, like the money thing. I definitely felt like the bar scene was, like, completely unnecessary.
Yeah. I don't really get that. I don't get, like, Carter going around to kind of talk to these people who are his informants, like, on the ground. Like, I get it from, like, a character building point.
Yes.
Like, oh, he kind of works, like, outside of the law, you know? Like, he has his people that he goes to.
Right.
Like, I get that. But then none of them give him any,
like, real information.
information.
Yeah, they all tell him the same thing, and the thing that they tell him is like, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then you're useless. This whole thing is useless.
Yeah. Just the bombs in general didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, like, they kidnapped this girl for ransom, which I don't entirely understand, because the Juntao wants all these artifacts.
Right.
So I don't know what he's going to do with this money. Like, he can't just buy all these artifacts back, right? Or is that what he's doing?
I don't... Yeah, it wasn't...
But then where do bombs even come in? Like, let's make an action movie. We have to have bombs in it.
Yeah, we have to have explosives.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, that's one thing that I don't really delve into action movies because, like, I feel like there's just, like, there's a lot of room for, like, plot holes and, like, confusion and stuff like that. I mean, I think the only other action film that I really enjoy is, like, Mad Max and John Wick. That's it. And John Wick is, like, on a line.
And you haven't seen the Bourne movies.
I have not seen the Bourne movies. We will get to there eventually. We have our whole lives ahead of us to watch the Bourne movies.
All right. Any other aspects you got? I got one more thing.
Okay, I have two more things. What's your one?
All right, so I did want to mention Juntao is played by Tom Wilkerson.
Okay.
Who's, like, somewhat of, like, a twist villain.
Uh-huh.
Because we don't know he's the villain. We don't know he's Juntao until, like, halfway through the movie. That being said, anytime you see Tom Wilkerson in a movie, he is most likely the twist villain.
Okay.
Like, I did, like, 5 minutes of research. He is some sort of, like, villain or antagonist with a bit of a twist in Batman Begins, the Lone Ranger movie, Green Hornet, also Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. He's, like, the doctor.
Oh, he's a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I knew what.
Yeah. So, like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, I wonder when Tom Wilkerson is going to come back as the villain.
Right.
And I don't know. There's another aspect that I don't know if it's, something that has happened since 1998 with all of Tom Wilkerson's movies, or if it's like,
Does he play the bad guy in Big Hero 6? He looks like him. Let's put a picture.
I don't think he's in Big Hero 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he looks like that guy. I thought it was a really cute where at the very end when Jackie Chan falls from the beam or whatever and he, like, runs into Detective Carter and then he, like, starts, like, kissing him. He's like, oh my god, thank you for saving my life. He's like Chris Tucker's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just being polite. He's like, well, next time be polite to my no, he didn't say my ass. He said, next time just be polite to my nuts or something like that. I thought that was really cute of Jackie Chan. I don't know. I felt like Jackie Chan was really cute in this movie. And then there was a part of... Oh, I do want to talk about some facts that I found.
Okay.
So, I found out that this is pretty much Jackie Chan's, like, first English-speaking movie. So he has done other movies where he has had his voice dubbed.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what other movies those are, but whatever English he was speaking in those movies, it was done by somebody else because he just really wasn't confident in his English speaking skills. Okay. So this is pretty much his first like time speaking English, which I think is really cool. And also with seeing that he didn't speak for a good portion of the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's really like a nice reveal because I'm sure like people who have seen Jackie Chan movies have never heard his English voice and they're just like shocked. And then people who haven't, like, it's almost like a shock to them too because, you know, that he hadn't spoken the whole movie.
Yeah. I mean, that may put even more shock into the fact that, I don't know, his 20th line has the N-word in it or something.
Right. Gosh. And I also found out that the creator of Rotten Tomatoes created Rotten Tomatoes specifically for this movie. Or this movie was like the jumping point for the creator of Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
Because he wanted to like, he was a really big fan of Jackie Chan. And like after seeing this film, he was like, okay, well now I have to like review all of Jackie Chan's stuff. So he apparently made the website in like 2 weeks or whatever and then had his reviews for all the Jackie Chan movies.
Interesting.
And now we use it today.
Yeah, I wonder what it has on. I wonder what Rush Hour has on.
Honestly, I think it was like a 6.9. It was like around that area. And the last thing that I found out was that Fu Chow, I think is the name of the restaurant that they were playing in, is an actual restaurant. And that they have a sign that says Rush Hour was filmed here.
Oh,
so
nice.
I mean, I think that would be really cool to like. Well, I mean, Los Angeles or Hollywood is full of like places that have been filmed in. So I think the whole place is like that. But I mean, if this is like something that you enjoy, then I think it would be really cool to like go and eat there.
Yeah, that's cool. I do like. There's he jumps from the top of the tourist bus to hang on the Hollywood Boulevard sign. Like, I think that's like just an iconic moment in film, really. It's like, hey, Jackie Chan's hanging from the Hollywood Boulevard sign right now. Yeah. I did also, I wanted to say quick shout out to John Hawkes, who plays the guy named Stucky, I think is his name.
Stucky? Yeah.
He is the guy selling the star maps.
Okay, yeah.
I love him. He's a great
Just
actor.
shout out.
He's like a little baby in this movie.
Aww.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, shout out to that guy. Good job.
Quick shout out to John Hawkes. All right. Is that everything?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. I think that's pretty much it. What is your final grade of this movie?
My final grade of this movie is going to be an 5.8.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I will say, like, the dialogue, so most of Chris Tucker's lines were improvised.
Okay.
And I definitely felt that way.
Yeah, I feel that way at times, yeah.
And then, Jackie Chan was, like, learning English for this film, so I felt like they were giving him pretty simple lines. So it wasn't, like, the greatest dialogue. There was a lot of good comedy lines, but overall I felt like the dialogue sometimes didn't feel very believable between the two characters.
Okay.
Same thing, like, with the setting, we talked about, like, I mean, it's actually Hollywood, but there were just, like, some weird stuff with, like, physics and real science and stuff.
Yeah.
And just pace and editing really didn't hit well for me. I really liked whatever songs that they used. War, I don't know what that's called. What is it good for? And then the beginning song, like the intro action scene song, was like a jam. But yeah, it's like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Not very original, so
Yeah.
I mean, the most original thing about it is that it's like an Asian guy and like a black guy versus like a white guy and a black guy.
That's
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So, you know, it gets some points for that. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't feel like I'm not going to be like itching to watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I put like a 5 overall for enjoyment. So with the score that I have, it's a 5.8.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think I would. I would probably watch it again in 20 years. You know?
Yeah. But what did you score it?
So I gave it just a little bit higher than you. I gave it a 6.8.
Okay.
So I'm right there along
Wow.
with the bulk of people on Rotten Tomatoes, if that's the case.
I think this is the first time where my score is lower than yours.
I think it is. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I thought a long time about what to grade this film.
Yeah.
But I do think it has some kind of like.
It is kind of iconic.
Yeah, I gave it more points than I probably should have for being such a classic.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there's a whole series, so like Rush Hour 2 and 3.
I think there's a fourth one.
Maybe, but nobody talks about that. I don't know. I don't know. This is like, you know, you said it's Jackie Chan's first like English speaking film. I feel like for what it is, I think it did kind of break ground in a certain niche. And yeah.
Okay.
I gave it a 6.8.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. What's your one favorite thing about the movie?
My one favorite thing about the movie is probably Jackie Chan singing what is it good?
That's your favorite?
It's he's so cute when he does it. And two, like, I feel like just his general energy reminds me of my own dad, like, singing.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, just they have the same kind of, like, face and, like, general energy about it. Okay. And it just, it takes me back to, like, when I was a kid and, like, my dad is, like, being silly.
Okay, all right. Jackie Chan is a singer, by the way.
Oh,
he has several albums in various languages. So,
like Josh Groban, dude. I found out that Josh Groban speaks Spanish, or sings in Spanish, Italian, and others.
All right.
Yeah. But what was your favorite part?
So my favorite thing is, so Jackie Chan gets to the consulate.
Yeah.
What's his name? Consul Han. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jackie Chan gets to Consul Han's residence, like this big house, and there's security outside, and he has the steering wheel in his hand, and he takes down these two cops with the steering wheel on his hand, and he has their gun, and he just like dismantles the gun.
Oh yeah,
like with one hand, and like that's so cool.
Yeah, there's the other scene where he's like in the building, and he has the steering wheel, and he like pops off the sleeve of the gun, mm-hmm. and then just like that between the steering wheel. Dude, that's so cool. Yeah, Jackie Chan is pretty cool.
All right, so you mentioned the war song.
Yes.
That has inspired us for our next movie choices. So we chose 3 movies that are about war, kind of.
Yes. So we chose movies that have war as the setting, mm-hmm. but not so much as the center of the movie.
Yeah.
And the 3 movies that we have chosen for you guys to choose from is Casablanca, made in 1942, classic. I've never seen it. Ryan's seen it. The Imitation Game, which was filmed in or released in 2014. Neither of us have seen it, but I've heard it's gay. And then we also have See Jojo's Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit, which was released in 2019, which we both saw and both love. So you have a really good mix to choose from. They were all like have World War II as the background war, but I feel like these are really cool like films to choose from because they're solid,
pretty diverse World War II selections,
right? And it's not gonna be sad or depressing.
Yeah, well, I mean, somewhat.
All right. So that's pretty much the first episode of our second season. We really hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your views.
Yes.
And please tell your friends about us. We would really appreciate that. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on our Instagram. There will be podcasts, and on Twitter we are Pod from a Basket.
Yes. All right. Also, as we've mentioned in prior videos, we're working on getting an audio-only companion to the podcast up on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. What I think I'm gonna do, because it's very challenging to kind of go back, and I basically have to rework the episodes for audio only. I'm working on that, but I think going forward, what we're gonna do is just proceed with, like, this will be the first episode that we release audio only for like the second season, and we'll go from there.
All right.
So that being said, look out for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Yes.
I think that's how it goes.
We're learning. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And as always, we're going to leave you with some parting words.
Yes. Hang out for those parting words.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank you.
Have a good
night.
You full of shit. You understand that? You full of shit.
Not being able to speak is not the same as not speaking. You seem as you like to talk, so I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
What the hell did you just say?